There was a time when I thought life was just a series of random events. Each win, each loss, seemed like a matter of luck or fate, like I was rolling dice against my own life, and whatever came up, I'd just accept it. It felt strange, because deep down, something inside me kept saying it couldn't be just that it wasn't possible for chaos to reign without some kind of hidden order behind all that apparent randomness. But the truth is, I just didn't know how to see it. It was in that quiet, internal restlessness that I discovered the Kybalion. And I'll admit, at first I thought it was just another cryptic book, full of strange words and principles that seemed impossible to apply to real life. It took me a while, but I realized those pages represented more than just instruction or knowledge. They were a map. Everything in that book pointed to something I'd been trying to reach for years without even knowing what to call it. Glimpses of the invisible architecture of reality. People have always heard phrases like, "You create your own reality," or "The universe is working in your favor." These ideas have been around for decades, especially since the law of attraction became trendy. But few people stop to ask, if I really create my own reality, what's behind that process? What are the laws that govern it? There must be some kind of code, and if there is, where is it? I stopped to ask those questions. And it was after that moment of questioning that I started to see the difference. Most people try to use the mind to change reality like someone trying to fix a machine without understanding the laws of mechanics. They force the process, apply pressure, and the gears break. Which means things just get worse. I say this because I've done it myself. I used to try visualizing outcomes like it was all just a matter of strong willpower. It was frustrating, exhausting, and most of the time, ineffective and a complete waste of time. After getting beaten down by my own ignorance, I finally got my act together. I shifted my mindset and managed to crack open a small window in my awareness, and that's when I understood that wanting something wasn't enough. I realized I had to learn how to operate the codes, and that the Kybalion was the key that would begin to unlock that door. Each principle in it is like a password. If you enter it correctly into the machine of reality, it responds. And if you enter it wrong, well, life seems to freeze. Or worse, it feels like it's working against you. I saw it happen to me. And I saw it change too. Of course, it didn't happen overnight, and there were no promises of magic, my friend. It was like learning a new language. The language of invisible principles that shape the visible world. So now, when I hear someone talk about manifesting the life of their dreams, without even knowing the principles behind manifestation, I see what used to be invisible. That person is like an architect trying to build a bridge, without understanding the laws of physics. And if there's one thing I've been learning, it's that real power doesn't come from having an intense desire for something that just gives mental shape to what you want. Real power lies in respecting the Hermetic principles, which are actually the invisible structure of existence. And whoever deciphers the Hermetic codes of the Kybalion holds the true master key. What I'm about to share with you has nothing to do with theory. It's the testimony of what I witnessed when I started applying these codes in my own life. My name is Noah, and this is the Hermes Code channel. But getting back to our topic, there's a reason why so few people truly manage to change the circumstances of their lives. And it has nothing to do with bad luck, a lack of worthiness, or chakra alignment. It has to do with something much more uncomfortable, but also much more liberating. The resistance to letting go of one's own ignorance. The truth is, most people prefer to stay on the surface. They want quick answers, catchy phrases, emotional shortcuts. They want magic pills, but they don't want to dive into the process of decoding the hidden language that shapes their lives. In other words, they want others to do everything for them. The less effort and responsibility, the better. And the purpose of this channel is to put the control of your life back into your own hands. You don't need anyone to tell you how to evolve. What you need is the will and consistency to actually do it. And the Kybalion makes that very clear. In fact, I'd say it's an anti-guru manual. It encourages the student to walk on their own. It's not a book you read once and leave on the shelf like a decoration. It's a living manual, a set of codes, that only reveals its mysteries to those who have the courage to face their own intellectual and spiritual limitations, and then go beyond them. But a lot of people are too lazy for that. Many close the book at the first challenge, at the first sentence that demands more than passive reading. They jump from method to method, from video to video, but avoid the one thing that truly transforms: the inner work of study and deep understanding. And that's where the real problem lies. As long as ignorance is in charge, reality is nothing more than an invisible prison. The universe isn't sentimental. It responds to laws, to principles, to invisible structures that operate whether you accept them or not. And if you stop to really think about it, it's absolutely worth deciding that it's time to start understanding how life actually works. Because as long as you don't know these laws, you're playing a game whose rules you don't understand, and where you'll inevitably be manipulated, deceived, and defeated. The Kybalion offers those keys. But it asks for something in return. It demands that you become a genuine seeker, not just a collector of knowledge, not just an intellectual who lives in the realm of theory. And sadly, my friend, most people aren't willing to put in the effort. Most give up on the first difficult page. Most want to reap the fruit, but don't want to plant, water, wait, or understand. This resistance to acquiring true knowledge is what keeps most people trapped in cycles of pain, frustration, and stagnation. Ignorance isn't just a lack of information. It's the daily choice not to seek, not to question, not to move. And as long as that choice is made, no matter how much you want something, your reality will keep being shaped by the codes you refuse to decipher, and worse, with your own unconscious collaboration. I remember a conversation I had with a friend a few years ago. He was drowning in financial problems. Same old story. Bills piling up, trying to make quick money, but always ending up back in the same place. He said to me, "I've tried everything. I don't know what else to do. Nothing ever works for me." When I asked him what he had done differently, he looked at me with frustration, but without truly understanding what was going on. The truth is, he had never actually committed to understanding what was behind the strategies he was trying to apply. He wanted fast results, but he didn't want to put in the work to understand what was happening in his mind, the limiting beliefs that kept him from making better decisions, let alone dive deeper into how the universal laws actually operate. And this is the key point in our conversation. How many times in your life have you been that friend of mine? Maybe it was in that moment when you felt unmotivated, because you had already tried everything but still didn't see results. Or when you felt lost chasing something that just didn't seem to work for you, even though you saw so many people saying things would get better if you just did this or that. What usually happens is that there's a hidden resistance to a true and deep search for understanding. It's like someone who wants to lose weight but doesn't want to understand how the body really works. They try crash diets, magic pills, but never stop to analyze what needs to be done in the long term. Because deep down, the laziness to study the process, to go deep into the mechanism that governs life, is what keeps that person stuck. Look, I'm not talking about shifting your mindset to some kind of naive optimism, like everything's going to work out. This isn't about empty positive thinking. I'm talking about fully committing to the process of understanding the Hermetic codes that are constantly, and practically, being ignored. Hear me out. I'm trying to tell you that you need to break through the resistance and dive deeper into what can actually transform you, even if that means going beyond what you already know, or what you think you know. Think of it this way. Have you noticed how the people who complain the most about not having time are often the ones who struggle the most to invest in their own education? They talk about how hard life is, how reality never seems to change, but often can't dedicate even 20 minutes a day to studying something that could completely shift the way they act in the world. They complain about lack of results, yet refuse to understand the laws operating behind it all. It's not about spending endless hours studying, but about being willing to invest time in what can actually change your life, breaking the cycle of ignorance that keeps you stuck. The Kybalion doesn't demand some impossible sacrifice of time, but it does require a choice, a decision. Either you face your ignorance with honesty and commit to understanding the laws that shape your reality, or you'll continue being ruled by them, without even knowing how to use them in your favor. When I began to dive deeper into the Hermetic principles, something changed within me. It wasn't some magical transformation, as many would like to believe. It wasn't a change that happened overnight, but it was a real, tangible shift in my understanding of how things work. Imagine, for a moment, being in absolute control of your own destiny, understanding the forces that shape your life in a way you never thought possible. That was the feeling I had when I started studying the Kybalion seriously. You begin to realize that you have the power to decide what enters your mind, what you do with your emotions, how you handle conflicts, and how you create favorable conditions to build a new life. Before learning the Hermetic codes, I spent most of my time trying to control external circumstances, worrying about the unexpected, about what others thought, or about what I didn't have yet. That was the common mindset I carried, a reactive mindset. I reacted to life, instead of creating my own reality. It wasn't until I absorbed into my consciousness that true change doesn't come from the outside in, but from the inside out, that things truly began to move. Understanding the principle of mentalism, for example, was a revelation to me. The idea that reality is a mental creation, that the universe is a manifestation of the mind, changed the way I viewed my life and challenges. I realized I was no longer a victim of circumstances, but the unconscious creator of them. I began to understand that my external reality is, in fact, a direct reflection of my thoughts and beliefs. If I change the way I see the world begins to change too. You might be wondering, but what's the benefit of all this? How will truly understanding all of this change my practical life? Well, one thing I can guarantee is that once you start applying the teachings of the Kybalion, you'll begin to see results in every area of your life. For example, I became more focused and determined because I came to understand that if my mind was aligned with the Hermetic principles, I could shape my life the way I wanted. The blocks that once seemed insurmountable began to disappear, simply because I stopped fighting against reality and started to understand it. In practice, I began to attract more opportunities, improve my relationships, and make more assertive decisions, because I knew the answers to all my challenges were already within me. It wasn't magic, but a real shift in my understanding of the universal laws that operate all the time. And the best part, when you understand the Hermetic codes, you don't need to wait for others to change for you to feel good. You take the reins of your own life. You stop depending on external circumstances to feel in control. You know, many people spend an entire lifetime trying to change what's outside, never realizing that the real key is changing what's inside. When you acquire true knowledge about the laws that govern your reality, you become independent of any external condition, and that's an invaluable freedom. So, what do you gain from this? You gain complete autonomy over your life. You begin to create, not just react. You feel more confident, more capable of achieving your goals, and you start to notice that the reality around you molds itself according to your vision and intention. And that, my friend, is a power no one can take from you. No matter what others do or say, you become the source of your own transformation. This is what it truly means to be responsible for your life in the fullest sense of the word. Now, the foundation is set. The idea here was to give you a taste of the real impact understanding the Hermetic principles can have on anyone's life. If all of this resonates with you, it's time to take the next step and understand, for real, how to decode the Kybalion's codes and, with their help, become a true co-creator. We've reached the point where I believe you now understand what's truly at stake, holding the master key that can unlock an entirely new reality for you, so it's time to take the next step. If you've already read the Kybalion, you probably have a good idea about the Hermetic codes and the laws that govern the universe. But, practically, how can you begin applying these codes in your everyday life? The Kybalion is not a book to be read once and left aside. It's a life guide. A tool that, if applied correctly, can transform your perception of everything that happens around you. But you need to decode these codes, one by one. And that's exactly what I'm going to help you do. Step 1. Study, but not passively. You probably already know that knowledge without application is just information stored in your mind, and nothing more. Many people get lost at this point, reading and waiting for transformation to happen on its own. That's not how it works. The first step to transforming your life is to study with intention. When I say study with intention, I don't mean just opening the book and trying to understand the surface-level concepts. You need to dive deep into each Hermetic principle and reflect on how it applies to your life. And here's the big insight. Don't read the Kybalion just with your mind, but with your life in mind. Question each principle, see how it can be put into practice, and understand each concept thoroughly. It's not enough to know, you need to experience. Step 2. You need to apply each principle in practice. The Kybalion is not a book about abstract philosophies. It's about how you can use universal laws to shape your reality. For example, the principle of mentalism teaches us that the universe is mental. So, the first action you can take is to stop blaming external circumstances and start taking control of your mind. Ask yourself, what thoughts am I holding, and how are they shaping my reality? When you understand that reality begins with the mind, the next step is to replace limiting thoughts with beliefs that serve your goals. But before that, ask yourself, why am I having this kind of thought? Get used to questioning your thoughts. By applying this principle, you'll notice that situations that once seemed out of your control begin to be influenced by your perception. Step 3. Align your actions with universal harmony. The principle of resonance, or the law of vibration, teaches us that everything in the universe is in constant movement and vibration. This means that your energy, your thoughts, and your actions must be in harmony with what you want to attract. It's not enough to just visualize and wait for things to happen. You need to act in harmony with your intentions. Start observing what you're emanating to the universe. Your actions, your words, and your intentions must be aligned with your highest goals. Be consistent. If you're seeking prosperity, align your actions and mindset with attitudes of prosperity. If you seek peace, focus on cultivating it within yourself first. Step 4. Develop the habit of questioning and acting accordingly. Finally, the key to decoding the Hermetic codes lies in creating the habit of questioning everything around you. Don't passively accept what society, the media, or even your own limiting beliefs tell you. Challenge your own ideas, habits, and behaviors, and seek the truth within yourself. Don't let the Kybalion be just a book of wisdom. Turn it into a practical guide for your life. This is not about theory. Every principle you absorb can be immediately applied to your reality. No excuses, no limitations, just a journey of self-discovery and expanding your consciousness. Now, let me tell you, you have a choice to make. Continue living in ignorance of the laws that govern your life, or make the decision to truly apply the Hermetic codes. The key to real change is in your hands. So, tell me, are you ready to decode the codes? Are you ready to manipulate your reality? The Kybalion won't save you, but you can save your life by applying one principle at a time. The solution is clear now. The power to transform your reality is in your hands. Apply, experiment, experience, and then share your experience with the world. You'll never be the same after understanding the true nature of reality. I truly appreciate you staying with me until the end. This is a sign that you're truly committed. See you in our next video.